All right, so today we're gonna go over some basic measuring. So items like flour, rice, pasta, our regular sugar, these are all gonna be used with our dry measuring cups. You have a set of 4, a 1 cup, a half a cup, a third a cup, and a fourth a cup. And all we're gonna do is dip it in and level it off. And now I have a fourth of a cup flour. In some recipes, they will say to spoon and level, so they just are kind of trying to add a little more air in there. So that would be what it means to spoon and level, is to kind of spoon it in there instead of dipping it in. Okay, so same type of thing for our white granulated sugar. It's going to be in those big tubs in class. Dip it in, level it off. Okay. When we need to make 3/4 of a cup, we can either do a fourth of a cup 3 times, because a fourth plus a fourth plus a fourth is going to each equal 3/4, or we can do a half a cup plus a fourth a cup, because a half a cup is technically 2 of these already. So you're only having to measure twice instead of 3 times, which gives you a lower margin for error. Now, when it comes to our brown sugar has molasses in it. So this sugar we're gonna have to compact, and you always compact it unless it says loosely packed or unpacked, but always assume it means packed. My brown sugar is a little tough right now. You can always add a piece of bread or an apple slice to brown sugar, and it kind of helps soften it up. So here, let's say, is my fourth a cup. So I'm going to use the heel of my nice clean hand to pack it. I already need to get more. Pack again. I want to go until it looks slightly overflowing. Okay, now that it's packed, I'm going to get my leveler, and instead of just going like I did with the flour, I'm going to kind of cut it this way first. It just is a little easier with the brown sugar. Then you can kind of knock the extra off. And then the test is, does it come out like a sandcastle? So there's my sandcastle. So I measured brown sugar right. Whether it's 1 cup, half cup, fourth cup, even if it's tablespoons, make sure you're packing it. When it comes to our spices, things like salt, you're going to be using your measuring spoons. Again, dip it in, level it off. If you ever have a recipe and it says, I'd say even above a tablespoon of salt, I would double check. Maybe it's supposed to say teaspoon. I had a student before put a fourth a cup salt in their muffins when it was supposed to be a fourth a teaspoon, and they tasted like the ocean. So just be mindful of that. Baking soda, baking powder, just dip it in, level it off. Here's some more spices for us here. A lot of our spices are going to be in larger containers, and there's 2 sides. So there's one side where you kind of shake the spice on, and then there's the other side. I always call the smiley face side because it's happy, because you're measuring accurately. So all you're going to do is get your measuring spoon and dip it in there, and I'm going to use the top part of this to level it off. That's going to be my leveler. It's going to do the work for me. So all you do is dip it in, level it off from the side of the container. If it's an even larger container and it doesn't have that, you can always dip it in and use your leveler this way, because we buy in bulk, so a lot of our spices are in very large containers. What I don't want you doing is, some of them have shakers, and I've seen students before standing over the trash can and they're just shaking this. Don't do that. You're wasting a lot of the spices. We always want to make sure we're saving it. So when I measure within the container, whatever falls off gets returned back to the container. And spices can get pretty pricey depending on what you're getting. If it's ever butter, you generally measure it on the stick. So there's 8 tablespoons. It'll also tell you half a cup. It'll say cut here for a fourth of a cup, or you just know that 4 tablespoons are in a fourth of a cup. you just kind of go to the stick for butter. And I normally make an indent where I'm gonna cut on the outside of the butter, and then I open it, and then I cut it, because then I can re-wrap it up with an extra wrapper instead of just cutting through the wrapper, unless I'm gonna use it right away. When it comes to our liquids, we're gonna wanna use a liquid measuring cup because there's extra space at the top. There's a pouring spout, there's a handle. So if I walk around the room with a liquid, it's safe. I've seen students walk around with 1/4 of a cup of oil filled to the brim, and they're walking back to their kitchens just so carefully, and then it starts spilling on the floor. So this is for dry ingredients only. Also, when you fill things to the top with liquids, you're actually not getting an accurate measurement just because of the way they work. So this is gonna be a more accurate measurement here. And all you have to do is literally pour your liquids in it. We wanna do a flat surface. So here's my water, just pretending it's from a faucet. And try and come down to eye level to get your reading, because if you hold it up in the air, it's gonna be wobbly. If you're just looking at it from up top, it looks different. You really wanna go to eye level for it before you then use it. So this will be for water, broth, milk, oil. I do honey in liquid measuring cups, and I spray the cup first, so it kind of slides out with ease. Things like peanut butter and shortening, I tend to use my dry measuring cup. Now when it comes to liquids, but it's measuring spoons. So anytime it's like a tablespoon of oil, a tablespoon of milk, what you need to always have with you is a ramekin. And a ramekin is just a small little bowl, like when you get a side of ketchup at a restaurant, that's known as a ramekin. So a small little bowl, okay? And then if I need to measure my oil, I can just pour it in here, and any excess gets spilled into my ramekin instead of all over the counter or all over the floor. Okay, so it will be same with, say, my water. Just measure it over my ramekin. It's like a little portable trash can. And then again, if you had to walk back to your kitchen with it, you have something underneath to catch your mess. So I think that's all for today. So now you can get ready for cookies in a jar. Because you're going to be using all these techniques you just learned, except for the liquids. That will be if you make it at home. You're going to use the liquids. Some tips for the cookies in the jar. On the containers, don't squeeze the sides. They're very flexible. So if you squeeze the sides, the white sugar and the oats start to fall down the side towards the flour mixture, and you kind of have to remove them in steps. So first it says remove the oats, then the sugars to blend the sugar with the butter. If you're going to bake them, I recommend using butter instead of margarine. And I let the dough chill in the fridge a little bit before baking so they don't spread as much. But beyond that, you're gonna go one at a time. Supplies are at the front of the room, okay? When you're done with your measuring cups and spoons, don't wash them yet. Wait till everyone in your kitchen has a chance to use them. You have 2 sets, so technically 2 of you could go at once. But if I'm gonna wash my measuring spoon and then I dip it in the flour, it all gets stuck in there. So wait to wash them until everyone's done, and then we're all gonna have to work together to wash, dry, and put these items away. It's just bowls and measuring spoons, so I think we can handle it. And then the deli cup you get to take home with you.